Have you ever been in a moment where a simple question feels heavier than any test in life? A question so innocent sounding yet so powerful that the way you answer it can shift the way someone sees you forever. A question like, so, what do you like about me? It seems harmless, almost sweet, right? But beneath those words lies a subtle, invisible battlefield. One that men have faced for centuries, even if they didn't know it at the time. Because that question is not really about words. It's about energy. It's about your frame. It's about the quiet power of a man who understands himself and refuses to surrender his inner calm for the sake of approval. In today's world, many men have forgotten the quiet strength that comes from self-mastery. They chase approval, validation, and recognition from others, often from women they admire. And in the process, they hand over their power without realizing it. Stoicism teaches us something simple but radical. Your peace is your power, and no one can take it from you unless you give it away. When a woman asks, "What do you like about me?" she's not just fishing for compliments. She is unconsciously assessing your emotional independence. She is feeling whether your sense of self depends on her or if it rests firmly within you. Because humans, and especially women, are wired to sense energy before words. If you rush to answer, if your words come out of need or fear, she feels it. And in that instant, your masculine frame begins to wobble. Most men fall into the trap of over-explaining. They want to sound romantic, thoughtful, or intelligent. They start listing reasons. I like your smile, your laugh, the way you think, your energy. They're trying to impress, to please, to be liked. But what they don't realize is that every extra word, every effort to validate her, quietly tells her that their peace depends on her approval. The Stoics warned against this kind of attachment. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This includes the way you react to someone else's words, their questions, and even their tests of your patience and composure. When your self-worth depends on someone else, you've already surrendered the very thing that makes a man unshakable. A Stoic man answers differently. He understands that true attraction, true respect, is never built on the desperate desire to please. It is built on calmness, presence, and consistency. A Stoic man doesn't need to explain himself. His energy, his calm, and his frame speak louder than any list of reasons ever could. Imagine this: a woman asks the question. A man responds immediately with flattery. She hears the words, but she feels the need behind them. The attraction subtly diminishes because neediness is louder than compliments. Now imagine another man. Stoicism teaches that our happiness and strength come from within, not from outside validation. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Stoic man knows that answering every emotional test in full detail is a reaction. Remaining composed, silent, and confident is a response. There is a subtle but profound difference. In modern life, these lessons are more relevant than ever. The constant pressure to perform, to be liked, and to impress has left many men emotionally dependent. They give their power away for small pieces of approval, and in relationships this pattern can be devastating. Answering that question impulsively, emotionally, or desperately creates a dynamic where she unconsciously holds the emotional leverage. The more you need to explain your feelings, the less attractive and grounded you appear. But Stoic wisdom gives you a roadmap to avoid this trap. Let's explore this step by step. First, understand that your self-worth is independent of her reaction. Nothing she says or does can add to or subtract from your intrinsic value. A Stoic man internalizes this truth daily. He understands that peace of mind is the ultimate power, more than words, charm, or attention. Second, cultivate the ability to pause. Silence is not emptiness, it is presence. When she asks a loaded question like, "Wait, what do you like about me?" your brief pause communicates confidence. It shows that your emotions are your own and that you don't need to rush to satisfy her curiosity. Third, communicate through energy, not over-explaining. Your calm, your gaze, your subtle smile, these things convey far more than any list of reasons. Presence is magnetic, and it speaks to people on a level words never can. Fourth, understand the difference between appreciation and attachment. You can admire, respect, and even deeply care about a woman, but never at the cost of your emotional independence. Appreciation comes from observing and valuing someone. Attachment comes from needing them to validate you. Stoic men embrace the first, reject the second. Fifth, Realize that women subconsciously respect men who hold their frame. Emotional tests are universal. They exist in every relationship. They exist in friendships and even in family dynamics. How you handle these moments determines the level of respect, admiration, and attraction others feel toward you. Finally, practice this every day, not just in relationships but in life. Every time someone challenges your peace, your opinions, or your energy, pause, observe, respond with presence. This builds a calm authority that cannot be shaken. The lessons here are subtle, yet life-changing. Answering the wrong way once may not destroy everything, but consistently giving away your power slowly erodes your confidence. Conversely, practicing Stoic composure consistently transforms your presence, your relationships, and your inner life. Now let's go deeper into what it really means to hold your frame, especially when faced with questions designed to test your composure. Imagine the small daily moments in life, the subtle ways people, especially women we care about, test our patience, our focus, our calm. It isn't just about romantic relationships. It's about every interaction that can pull you off balance. The question, "What do you like about me?" is a microcosm of life's tests. How you respond reveals the strength of your inner foundation. Think of a man who reacts immediately with a long list of reasons. Perhaps he says, "I like your laugh, your hair, your sense of humor, the way you think about life, and your energy." To anyone listening, it may sound charming, even thoughtful. But what is really happening beneath the surface? He has tied his sense of peace, his sense of approval, and ultimately, his emotional energy to the response of another human being. That moment of over-explaining reveals a subtle weakness, a dependence on validation. And in the energetic world of human attraction, neediness is louder than any compliment. Contrast this with a man who remains composed. He might say nothing at first, holding space and allowing his energy to speak. His eyes are calm, his posture steady, his smile slight. When he does speak, he says something minimal but powerful, like "you'll see," or "I appreciate who you are." These few words carry more weight than paragraphs of explanation because they signal a mind that is free, grounded, and internally confident. He communicates from a place of strength, not desire. This is the first truth the Stoics teach us. Control over the mind is the ultimate source of power. Marcus Aurelius reminds us repeatedly that external events, including the actions, words, and questions of others, can only influence us if we allow them to. In practice, this means cultivating the ability to remain emotionally untouchable, even in the face of curiosity, tests, or subtle challenges. The second lesson is that presence speaks louder than words. Human beings, especially women, are wired to feel energy before they hear it. Calm composure communicates more than a carefully crafted sentence. Your attention, your gaze, the steadiness of your breathing, your relaxed posture, all of these nonverbal cues convey confidence. The third insight is the difference between appreciation and attachment. Appreciation is observing, valuing, and enjoying someone for who they are, while attachment is needing them to affirm your value. The Stoic man loves deeply without losing himself. He admires without clinging, engages without depending. When you answer a question like, "What do you like about me?" from appreciation, it comes from a grounded place. When you answer from attachment, it comes from a place of need. One strengthens your presence, the other diminishes it. Fourth, emotional tests are universal. Life constantly presents us with opportunities to surrender our inner authority, often disguised as harmless questions or requests. Every interaction is a chance to reinforce your internal freedom or give it away. Stoicism teaches that mastery of the self is not theoretical. It is practical and daily. Responding calmly, refusing to over-explain, and maintaining emotional independence are exercises in self-mastery. The fifth truth is perhaps the most subtle. Your silence is your power. Words can be traps. Silence, when used correctly, is a form of communication more potent than speech. Silence conveys calm, thoughtfulness, and a self-contained energy that does not seek validation. When a woman asks a question like, "What do you like about me?" silence is not emptiness, and it is a statement. It is the quiet declaration that your value is not contingent upon her response. Consider the modern world. Social media, constant messaging, and hyperconnectivity have amplified the demand for emotional availability. Men are often expected to respond immediately, to over-communicate their feelings, to justify their attraction or commitment. Stoicism provides a framework to resist this cultural pressure. It teaches us that peace of mind, not constant validation, is the foundation of attraction. respect, and emotional resilience. Now let's explore the sixth insight. Stoic men communicate through actions, not words. Appreciation and attraction are demonstrated through consistency, reliability, and calm attention. When a man is grounded, he shows care without needing to prove it verbally. Actions rooted in self-respect carry far more weight than 1,000 words, especially when facing subtle tests of character. When a woman asks, "What do you like about me?" she may not fully remember your answer, but she will always remember how you made her feel in your presence. That is the power of grounded composure. This brings us to the deeper philosophical layer. True attraction and respect are built on stability, not validation. A man who constantly seeks to prove his feelings is emotionally unstable by definition. He gives away his power. A Stoic man, however, understands that validation comes from within. His calmness, self-possession, and presence generate respect naturally. This is why Stoic teachings remain so relevant today. Let's reflect further. Every time a man answers this question incorrectly, with neediness, over-explanation, or anxious flattery, he conditions himself to depend on external validation. This subtle conditioning can extend to every area of life: work, friendships, even family. Emotional dependence weakens decision-making, creates insecurity, and reduces a man's ability to lead his own life. Conversely, practicing restraint, composure, and grounded responses strengthens mental fortitude, emotional clarity, and social presence. Now let's bring this philosophy into a practical framework for life. 1. Pause before answering emotionally charged questions. 2. Observe your feelings and separate neediness from appreciation. 3. Respond with composure, brevity, and grounded energy. 4. Communicate interest through consistent behavior, not over-explaining. 5. Practice this daily in all interactions, reinforcing emotional independence. 6. Reflect on your internal state, cultivating calmness and presence as your core identity. By applying these steps, a man maintains his inner peace, strengthens his emotional authority, and cultivates natural attraction and respect. He no longer reacts to tests but responds from a place of grounded self-possession. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to reinforce his frame, his composure, and his freedom. To conclude, the question, "What do you like about me?" is far more than a simple inquiry. It is a test and a reflection of life itself, asking whether a man can remain grounded, composed, and self-contained. Stoicism teaches that the answer is not in words, but in presence, calm, and internal authority. By mastering this, a man does not merely survive interactions, he elevates himself above neediness, maintains his peace, and becomes magnetic in his quiet strength. So next time you face such a question, remember, your words are secondary. Your composure, your calm energy, and your inner independence are primary. Smile, pause, let your presence do the talking. This is how a Stoic man maintains his power, and silently, steadily, and with unwavering clarity. With that said, if this video resonated with you, if you want to continue building discipline, emotional independence, and magnetic presence, hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to my Stoic journey. Remember, your peace is your power, your silence is your strength, and your composure is the force that defines how others experience you. Walk your Stoic path with unwavering clarity, calm authority, and quiet confidence. Until next time, stay grounded, stay disciplined, and continue mastering the art of presence in every interaction.